a stay-at-home dad, watching Disney movies he never had. His daughter digs through all the VHS, crushing the classics in a princess dress. Informed like Scuttle, Kurt's got your ticket, making it real like Jiminy Cricket. Most are off the Captain Hook, but if the Tweedledum, he'll be taking more shots than Bambi's mom. Leaves him raised like Simba, or cracked like the beach dishes. He'll show you a whole new world, you won't need 3 wishes. Stay at home, Disney Dad.
20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, old-timey Disney gold. I remember buying this book from the Scholastic Book Fair back in the day and never reading it. But it had a giant squid on the cover, okay? If I was ever going to read a book on my own in elementary school, it was going to be this one, but in the end, I didn't. All right, Buena Vista presents credits first, so you know it's about to go down in an old-timey live-action way, and I'm here for it. A book, kind of not animation, but a book opens, and we read that it's 1868, and weird stuff's going on at sea, and we have a ship, and then all of a sudden this like head with yellow glowing eyes pops up, and this feels like the start of every single Scooby Doo episode ever made. We get the Looney Tunes Tasmania Devil sound effect. As the thing with eyes gets speed, it hits the ship explodes, we're back on land. All the seamen, they don't want to go out on boats anymore. And one of the captains is like, there's no monster, but everyone who goes on this next run will get paid double. And then this other guy's like, no one get on that ship. The monster is real and all the money in the world won't mean anything when you come back dead. When you come back, doesn't matter. One guy says, he was on the ship when the monster hit the boat, and then here comes some smart alecky guy who's like, I can smell your breath, old man, you're sauced. And then a fight breaks out to like whimsical background music. One guy gets uppercutted through a store window, and someone's always going through a store window in these old-timey live-action Disney movies. It's a Disney disservice if someone doesn't go through a window. I think, though, this is like a record for how quickly I'm invested in an old-timey Disney live-action movie. It usually takes me like an hour. There's some professor going on a trip in the newspapers. People are like, are you going on this dangerous expedition to find the monster? He's like, no, I'm going to the Orient for different reasons, but claims kind of in passing on his way out that, you know what, sure, the monster could exist, but of course the newspapers being newspapers, they run with it, and it's like, extra, read all about it, professor warns the world of the monster. The ship's trip is delayed because they can't get crew, but then some guy comes is like, I can get your professor there. And with a big brain like yours, Professor, you can observe things along the way and help confirm or deny the existence of this monster. They sail away, and every man on that ship was on the lookout for the monster. Kirk Douglas is dressed like he works at Chips Ahoy or Ships Ahoy with Robin from Stranger Things. I guess this is a 3-month trip. The first month, quote, nothing but false alarms. The captain is like, okay, Professor, we could set you ashore in Saigon where you can tell everyone there is no monster. Kirk Douglas walks through the crowd of seamen and sings with his guitar, and the sailors join in and do the harmonies, and I'm sure I've seen this clip on like some Disney DVD trivia games. He sings a whale of a tale, and now he sings about banging some ugly girl, and after that, no sea monster will ever scare him. And come on, sea monster. I wanted to obliterate this ship right now and break up this song. Hey, I might get my chance. As soon as the song ends, they see a ship in the distance and it explodes. They go to help the crew, but there are no survivors. They're like, the ship must have struck something. Or something struck the ship. The professor goes, must have been the monster. And the captain is like, shut the Professor. And just like that, boom, they see the glowing Scooby Doo eyes of the sea monster, and now it's coming straight for their ship. So they're like, what do we do? Cue the drummer! And this kid's like, ratty-tat-tat-tat-tat, ratty-tat-tat-tat, because all sea monsters hate percussion. Everyone gets into position, the cannons come out and they fire at this monster. They're going from night to day to dusk in every camera cut. Like the continuity in this scene is so bad. It's night, it's day, it's dusk, it's night, it's dusk, it's night. They hit the monster and it turns around. Awesome. Kirk Douglas knows what's up. He hops in an escape rowboat and he gets out of dodge as the monster rears and starts coming back and charging the ship a second time with the Tasmanian Devil sound effect. But Kirk has a plan. He has in his hand a harpoon and he throws it at the monster as it comes. It hits the monster. It's a direct hit, but the monster's momentum hits the ship anyway, and the ship's going down. It's hit. The professor and his underling are alive, and they see the monster's body floating in the distance, and they go to it, and it's actually not a monster. It's like a green submarine. But this is new technology for them. They're like, hey, let's go inside and see what's up. They get below, and the professor's underling calls this machine, quote, an agent of destruction. And that's awesome. They're all calling inside. Hello, hello. Now someone outside is calling. Hello, hello. The professor finds this crazy, like, throne organ room or something. Who's shouting outside? It's Kirk Douglas from the rowboat. Still smiling and cracking wise. He asks if anyone else got off. Not the time, Kirk. So the three of them are the only survivors, and again, Kirk Douglas is nonplussed by the severity of the recent events. Professor is watching the animated fish swim outside the windows of the sub, and we are dipping into bedknobs and broomsticks territory. There's still meals cooking on the stoves. I'm not sure how the pots managed to stay atop after this thing was harpooned, but I'm not a cook. Maybe they have secrets. Kirk Douglas says, quote, this is the damnedest thing I've ever seen. Just you wait, Kirk Douglas. Just you wait. They look out the underwater window and they see a bunch of men in like scuba gear wandering around the ocean floor. They're having an underwater funeral for someone who must have died when the ship got harpooned. This movie, visually pleasing. The underwater funeral mob see the men in the ship and they start running in slow motion through the water, trying to get back to the ship and see the strangers. The three try to escape in a rowboat, but they're surrounded as the divers come up. And suddenly, there's an army of men who are already on the sub also coming out. Like, where did they all come from? Where were they a second ago? All three men are captured, and it's about to get real. The bad guy captain of the sea monster submarine comes aboard, and he's like, you are all from the boat that attacked us. And the professor says, yes, we thought you were a monster. The captain says to the professor, I like you. Take these other two upstairs. The sea brought you two, and the sea shall have you two back. Chilling. The evil captain almost drowns Douglas and the professor's lackey, but then saves them in the end, and he tells his crew to take them below. Quote, I found out everything I need to know. Terrifying. I missed something, but that's still creepy. Rich bad captain has a pet seal, which is rad. He invites his prisoners for a lavish supper. They realize they're eating all sorts of nasty underwater food like octopus fetus and sea cucumber salad. They're heading to the island of Crestbow to hunt. And the island is underwater, and they suit up Kirk Douglas and the underling, and they're going to head out and do some underwater hunting. Again, what year is this made? 1954. The visuals and sets are incredible in this movie for that year. They're incredible for 2026 with no CGI. The captain's name is Nemo, which is also fun, and we just sit back and we let the visuals soar here. Again, for 1954, this is some amazing footage and concepts, and Kirk Douglas gets in trouble for wandering away too far from where he's supposed to be, and he's looking for treasure. Douglas is now scheming full on to take over the ship and toss crazy Nemo out of power. The professor tells him not to do anything, and Kirk immediately goes to the treasure room and starts stuffing his guitar hole with gold, but then the seal busts in, and he's like, shut up, shut up, shut up, ooh, ooh, ooh. He starts playing the guitar to the seal, and all the goons rush in because like the alarm's going off, and they see this guy surrounded by treasure, playing guitar for a seal, and they're like, guess nothing's wrong here. Nemo goes into a sermon about how unjust life is out on the land, but here on the ocean floor, men are free to be men, and law and order rule. And Kirk Douglas just became the bad guy in this movie. I flopped, because that sounds like a f***ing awesome way to live, man. The professor was invited to the shore with Captain Nemo one day, and he's excited. They spy on like a work prison camp. Nemo calls it a, quote, white man's grave. The prisoners are carrying sacks of ammunition onto ships, quote, for future death and destruction. Nemo says he used to be one of them. The prisoners, the crew of the Nautilus, that's the submarine, are mostly escapees from there, and they found this place called the island of Vulcania, and that's where they built the sub, and that's where they're all going to go home after the mission ends and they have enough supplies. And the professor is invited to live on the island with them. They see a ship in the distance, and Nemo is like, all right, let's sink that bitch. And wham! They watch as the ship sinks, and it doesn't feel good as Kirk Douglas. He didn't like seeing that. He's like, hey, on that ship, those were seamen, just like me. Well, I mean, yeah, they already did that to your own boat. I don't know why you're surprised. We learn that Nemo's wife and son were tortured to death, which is bleak. Regardless, Kirk and the underling go about sneaking into Nemo's private quarters, and they steal blueprints and they're looking for coordinates, and the narc seal starts yapping, so they give the seal a cigar, and that shuts him up, and Kirk says, also works on women. All right. The professor's underling and Kirk steal some specimens, and he's like, dump out the specimens, we need the bottles. And underling says, don't tell me you're going to send messages in bottles. And then Kirk punches him. And he goes, that's for spying on me. What just happened? Douglas goes up and he starts tossing bottles with messages into the ocean while humming a sea shanty. Suddenly, an alarm goes off and they've lost control of the sub because it hit the rocks. They're stuck, but when the tide comes in later that night, it'll free them up and they can leave in the evening. Nemo says he's going to head to Papua New Guinea tonight and waiting for the tide to rise and invites the professor, who says, I don't want to go. But then Kirk and the underling are like, we shall come in the professor's place. And Nemo is suspicious, but he allows it. He just says, don't do anything dumb. You moron. You have fun and don't die. 2 minutes into the jungle, surprise, Douglas runs into cannibals. You moron! Underling sees them as well and makes a beeline for the rowboat to get out of there. He gets there first and sails away, leaving Kirk, and suddenly Kirk is back at the shore, screaming at him to wait as the tribe of hundreds come running out of the jungle, ready to kill Kirk. And Kirk swims to the boat and they start to paddle as arrows rain down on them. Suddenly the island men have boats and they're out there chasing them in the water. And I know this is a movie, but like, these two guys would be dead 100 times over already. But they make it to the sub and they drop below and Nemo's like, you invaded their privacy. So they have every right to invade ours, and the island men are on the sub now, and they're like, some are coming down the stairs into the, like, inside the sub, and Nemo lets them come. He's not sweating it for some reason, and just as they're all on top of the sub and on the metal steps coming into the sub, Nemo pushes a button and electrifies the outside of the sub and the stairs, and they all scream and jump into the water, and Kirk and everyone points and laughs from the windows, which is total thing to do, right? Nemo has finally had enough. He is like, you were going to escape, and you only came back because they were going to eat you. And I've had enough, and you will be held as a prisoner now. They see a, quote, warship in the distance, and well, you know, time to do what they do. The warship hits them with a cannon, the sub starts taking in water, and they lock Kirk in the room that's filling with water. As they dip below the surface, Kirk barely makes it out as the entire sub is now in trouble. The sub is deeper now than any man has ever been before, and oh damn, suddenly there's a legit sea monster, a giant squid is attacking them. Just like the cover of my book I didn't read. They electrify it and it drops the sub and then it attacks again, and now all the elements are burnt out. No more electricity. They are in trouble. A giant tentacle gets into the, I should know this, the like hull, I don't know. But the effects are dated but fun, and there's all these men with axes and harpoons stabbing at it, but where is Kirk, the greatest harpoonist in the land? They go to the surface, and in the storm, the men are fighting this thing atop the submarine. Nemo is the brave one that dodges the tentacles and plunges the first spear into the creature's head, but then it grabs Nemo, and this fight sequence is as impressive as all for 1954. This is a slick little movie. Like, I'm really enjoying this. Hat back forward. Just when all is lost, harpoonist extraordinaire Kirk Douglas gets there just in time, and he saves Nemo. You know, sometimes predictability is just as awesome, just as big of a payoff as a surprise or twist, and I think creators and writers need to relearn that. That was great. Of course that was going to happen. The professor and Nemo have words about their conflicting views in the world. Invaders have reached the island they're going to. Nemo is freaking out. If I have one complaint about these old movies, is that they go on forever. All of these are like 3 hours long, and it's not necessary. Like when you're fighting a giant squid on top of a submarine monster in a storm, and that's not the climax of your movie, time to wrap this up. The island is surrounded by warships. Nemo has a couple guys out on a rowboat to the island as bait, and the people on the island immediately start shooting at everyone. Kirk hops up and is like, no, we're the ones that sent the messages in the bottle. We're the good guys. Come save us. We're the ones that need help. And Nemo's like, you did what, you fools? Now I gotta destroy everything. Nemo is finally shot, but he still gets his steps in as he reaches above ground and says, stand by engines and prepare for diving. Even Nemo's death scene takes forever as he moans and shakes at the wheel. They dive and he keeps steering and hits rocks and is half dead. Can't tell what's going on anymore, and he teeters into rocks and coral and he's slowly bleeding out. Like, this guy's not doing great. What is left for this movie? I'm still enjoying it, but if this isn't the end, this is completely outstayed its welcome. Swiss cheese Nemo looks to his men. Nemo's like, all right, everyone, scorched earth. And they're like, ah. And Kirk is like, don't do it. Don't be part of some suicide pact. And then someone slaps Douglas, and now it's time for Douglas to kick ass, and he does, fighting his way around the ship and trying to steer the sub off its suicide mission while beating everyone else up with one hand. One tough thug gives him static though, and he tries to drown him as the sub fills with water, but Kirk blasts the seaman with kicks and punches and escapes and gets the professor and his underling to the surface just as the island is about to blow up any second. The narc seal is like, hey buddy, no hard feelings, take me, and he's like, get on. And suddenly Zombie Captain pulls the lever one final time and dies as the island explodes and the three men in the seal rowboat away from the submarine and exploding island. And oh my god, okay, we get a sad single shot reaction from all three men in the boat. It goes 1, 2, 3, and I was praying we got a fourth reaction shot of the seal, but they don't do it. Missed opportunity for comedy. The sub sinks and Kirk is suddenly cocky again. He's like, hey, sorry we didn't stop for souvenirs. And the professor says, maybe you did the world a favor. And as the sub sinks, you hear a Nemo voiceover talking about how the world is f***ed because everyone's greedy. Still true after all these years. Also, no women in this movie.
That's what I think about.
What do you think?
What we have is a concern about Curtis Anderson. His interviewing style is not the best. His personal appearance is not the best. I was wondering if the man has some kind of a hole